What up, my freaks? RuinousInsight here with part 61 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Malekith and Naggarond Inc. campaign. So as we saw last time, the Bowmen of Orion and the Sisters of Twilight were the first to feel the cane hammer as we came down hard on them and basically destroyed both factions. The Sisters of Twilight are gone for good, and the Bowmen of Orion down to one tiny army, if you can call it that, which will be destroyed next turn, and we'll be good. We'll be good and happy. This time around, we will be heading to the other outliers, or the outskirts, the other isolated Wood Elf enclaves, which means we'll be going after Loren, and we'll be going after the Griffin Wood, though Draika is all the way out here, so we'll probably have to give chase to her in order to actually destroy her for good. Now, Loren is actually looking like it's going to be one of the tougher places to take, since there's a lot of little armies here, but we also have a big battle in store with you, Crone Hellebron. So I think we'll start this one off. I'm very excited about the prospect. So we'll put you in Druki First Strike, even though that doesn't really do much for us. Enemy leadership in province at the cost of leadership, or at the cost of enemy leadership. Or at the cost of vigor, my bad. It's okay. Hellebron will get you your 1 level before we strike, and Blade Shield, why not? Make you an even stronger fighter, because if anybody needs it, it's clearly Hellebron. Now, that is 2 full stacks that cannot run from us. Will this draw out the Griffin Woods garrison? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter, because the garrison is garbage anyway. Alright. This looks like a pretty good time. Oh, I didn't switch your stance. My bad. Retreat. And go into Druki First Strike and try again. Sorry, Hellebron, I didn't mean to retreat you. Please don't hurt me. Maybe a little. Standard of Hag Grief, a melee attack plus 10, passive ability Evasion. Who do we want to put this on? I like the ability attack plus 10. Honestly, the charge bonus, is it even necessary on Hellebron? 181 charge. Oh, man. And this is only active if she's losing melee combat, though we do have a tendency to send her in against, like, all the enemies. 181 charge, this will bring it down to 146. But it's still insane, an insane amount of charge. We could give this to somebody else. You already have 76 charge. Honestly, everybody in this army has insane amounts of charge. We could give it to the Master. I feel like we put the Standard of Hag Grief on Hellebron. 10 melee attack is good throughout, and that will make her hit even harder, and then if she starts taking damage, she'll have the extra melee defense and the speed necessary to regroup and heal up. Hydra Banner, I guess I'm going to put it on you, the Master, and otherwise we're good to go. Here we go. Alrighty, here we go. Suddenly, we're basically in combat. Druki First Strike working for us in this particular map, as it does allow us to deploy directly behind the enemy army. Of course, their own reinforcements are coming in from behind our own army, so what we need to do is kill the enemy before the second army arrives. This also essentially precludes us using our reinforcing army ourselves, so it'll be Hellebron's army versus 2 full elite stacks. Let's see how they do. I'm going to start the battle out by Hellebron moving in against the enemy Ancient Treeman Otheode, though I do imagine that she can bring him down with, if not great ease, not too much difficulty. I don't actually know why I bothered to send the Sorceress of Beasts in. Probably just to add a little bit of a morale shock to it, but it's hardly necessary. Blades of the Blood Queen following Hellebron. Ooh, she's gonna be pissed about that comparison. Hellebron along, and in the forest here we are fighting, you guessed it, trees in the forest. And the Gaze of Cain comes down to buff everybody up and make sure that they slaughter all that much faster. In the darkness, a Death Hag faces off against another Treeman, though the Ancient Treeman, I do believe, has been pretty much ripped apart by Morathi, or Hellebron, damn it. and has now fallen. Speaking of tree men going down, that one's distracted by the Death Hag, and this one is actually being absolutely wrecked by Talaris Dreadbringer. Talaris is of course a legend, so he has great items on top of very solid stats, even when his buffs aren't up. I mean, without buffs, he's hitting for 900. He can probably duel with the best of the legendary lords, especially when his buffs are up. And gotta also remember he has a couple of sources of regeneration due to items and abilities, so he's a very nasty fighter. As well he should be. Kane's Herald and all that. Anyway, looks like the first army is pretty much broken. A lot of damage from our various executioners, while in the background we can see our Witch Elves and a little bit our Sisters of Slaughter are running around chasing down enemy quick movers, and on top of that using the Madness of Kane to force enemy cavalry into the fight rather than escaping from us. You gotta love the Madness of Kane for that. Though I generally really love the Witch Elves and the Sisters of Slaughter. Just like the Berserkers, I really like units that are, that take and give, like glass cannon melee units. The ones that love glorious melee combat, you know? Rather than just everybody getting ripped apart in range. It's fun, and ooh, this is a nice matchup. Wildwood Rangers with their two-handed weapons versus those of the Executioners, though the enemy looks like they're going to get a lot of help as the second army moves in. A little bit earlier than perhaps we would like, as a lot of our Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter are still very busy in the background, although they're probably enjoying themselves quite a bit chasing down the enemies as they rout. Otherwise, it looks like, ooh, that, lots of damage on that Eternal Guard unit, as I believe the Dark Conduit is cast on that one Death Hag. The Master, Talaris Dreadbringer, has found himself another tree man to kill, and as we saw that he brought the first one down while taking no damage himself, I imagine a repeat of that shall happen. Helebron is also right in the middle of this fight somewhere, but at this point I think she's chasing down the second Ancient Tree Man while Talaris works on the regular Tree Man. Alright, very nice combat for the Bloodwrack Shrine and the Death Hag and all of those Executioners and being supported on them. Hey, look, I found Helebron. Did I say Marathi again? I hope I said Helebron. And it looks like she's actually been a little bit separated from the Ancient Tree Man, though said Tree Man is in pretty bad shape and badly debuffed by the Curse of Anra here. And there is another Tree Man. Man, their enemy certainly has brought a lot of Tree Men to fight, but you know what? It is the Wargrove of Woe, and it does make sense that it did that. How's Talaris doing? Still nearly at full HP, and another Tree Man is shaken and just about to rout. In fact, the entire enemy army looks pretty darn shaken to me and are just about ready to fall as well. We have not used our reinforcing army at all whatsoever, with the small exception of having sent the two Manticores as well as Bane Kane marked in to chase down this one unit of Hawk Riders. The only unit in this army that could have done that for us was Helebron, and let's face it, she was a little busy this day, causing mass amounts of slaughter right in the middle of the enemy army. Speaking of slaughter in the enemy army, it looks like they have had enough and are starting to back off. The second Ancient Tree Man, by the looks of it, is about to fall, but at least it will lie in the woods where it belongs. Some solace in that, perhaps, and the Witch Elves, damn, they run fast, are going to chase down and stab, stab, stab away until very few enemy units are left. Oh, I love these fights in the sort of like half-shadowed forest. Man, these guys scream a lot, though. And let's see, there's another Tree Man. It was another Tree Man as Crone Helebron brings down a third one. Two Ancient Tree Men and one regular Tree Man to her name, and either 2 or 3 for Talaris, who is also, once again, still basically at full HP. Yeah, 2 Ancient Tree Men, that's basically all he did, but 27,000 damage and just by attacking them. Very, very nice. How much? 101 and 35. Well done to Helebron. Well done to everybody. A close victory, and unnecessarily, I should say, probably close victory in the sense that we could have used both our armies, but wasn't this just the way more fun way to do it? Alrighty, very, and I mean very nice. Now, we could have used the Bane Cainmark's army as support, but obviously we didn't need to, and I would have felt bad. I would have felt bad because Hellebron was having such a fun time facing off against two elite armies on her own, and her units were giving praise to Cain the entire time for the bounty of slaughter. And clearly they did well. The Blades of the Blood Queen racking up 40,000 damage, actually more, and then Hellebron herself, but she was busy knocking out Treemen and other elites, so that does make sense. 20k on one of the Death Hags as well, and nearly 20k on the other, 27k on the Master, who killed, I believe, 2 Treemen through the course of the battle. The regular ones, not the ancient ones. And generally speaking, just lots and lots of damage on everybody. Everybody got to play and do tons of damage as well. Close to 20k on most units in the army. Once again, the Bloodrack Shrine gets focused down, but you know, that's hardly surprising. It does tend to happen a lot. Alrighty, very nice. And this guy's gonna run. We're going to have... We're gonna have to chase them down. Oh, I guess we're gonna have to chase them both down. Well. Overseer, Dark Pegasus for Jeshia. Enemy killed in battle. Bane, you're gonna hit... I fear that if we send Hellebron out to destroy these guys, then she won't be able to head back to Griffin. Alright, let's have you try this. Go after Dillaruk, and hopefully auto-resolve will allow it without killing off our Bloodrack Shrine. It looks like it will. Let me guess, 1 HP left on the Bloodrack Shrine? Not 1, but close to it. And then I take it you won't be able to auto-resolve this one. Well, that's annoying, but what can you do? Bane Cainmark, rather, you're just gonna auto-resolve Griffin Wood because it's, well, sparsely defended, let's say. And we can use it as a sporting army later if needed. You can loot and occupy just to heal up. It's not like we really care about the place. And man, we keep getting envoys now as well. Isn't that fantastic? And you'll be able to heal to full. It's only at level 3, but we don't care about it. Build defenses just in case, and the growth buildings. And then let's use some of our slaves to buff that up. Like so, then we'll pop fights to the... we'll pop Slave Drive for the additional growth increase, and then we'll immediately go into Read Dark Portents, though I don't imagine we'll actually have too much of a use for it. Alrighty, now we won't be able to knock this faction out for good, because Drika's all the way out here, but I guess we do want to knock this little army out. Which will probably mean not auto-resolving, but what can you do? Oh, fantastic. The Bloodrack Shrine won't die. Beautiful. Honestly, auto-resolve is lying. Nope, 1 HP. Beautiful. I'll take it. I will certainly take it. Elf Servant, another Organ Merchant, and as many Organ Merchants as we can handle. Look at all that beautiful trade. Now, Hellebron, you're gonna go into raiding stance. Oh, you can actually reach Beckhoffen, but yeah, there's no way that you could without it hurting ya. So just stay here, heal up for a turn, and then we'll hit Beckhoffen, and next time around, maybe go around it right there. Do we actually need to steal tech? Maybe we could, just for fun. I have a weird concept of fun. Alright, do that. And you guys were really only here to keep an eye on the... this faction to see if they return, but it looks like with Griffinwood gone, they're pretty much done for. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. We will also probably want to trade away this particular territory, but that doesn't really matter. And you know what? There's probably no point in trading stuff anyway. Now we turn to a Loren Forest, which is not by any means sparsely defended. Elendilling is there with a full stack as well. And on top of all that, there's plenty of armies that have spawned. Now, how are we going to divide them up? First of all, okay, I can't... So if we were to attack you... Dulas, you will actually get all of these guys out on the field. If we attack you, you will get... some of them? It looks like you will get Elendilling, but you won't get Dulas. Whereas you will also not get Dulas. Oh, well, that's a problem. And the question is, who do we fight here? How do we do this? What's the best way to do this? You have a ton of cavalry. You have a lot less cavalry. And we could try a 3-on-3. 1, 2, 3. Huh. That might be an interesting time. Wasn't expecting a 3-on-3, but I like the idea. Alrighty, Sharky. Since Morathi didn't really get a chance to use her shades, I guess you will be able to. I can't... Is there a... I'd like to see which of our armies are actually supporting here. Is it both of them? I think it's both of them. I hope it's both of them because it's really unclear. You're gonna go into Druki for a strike, you're gonna go into Druki for a strike, and we're gonna give it a try to a 3-on-3. The last episode we were just focused on lots of 1-on-1s. This one is gonna be a little bit different. Here we go. You're going to run. I didn't know you could. Fascinating. And you're going to run far, heckin' far. Okay, well, they don't want a 3-on-3, apparently. Can either one of you chase this? I don't know. And go after Dulas. We still have another chance for a 3-on-3. Please, please don't run. I thought they couldn't run in general, but it looks like they can't. Oh, maybe when they don't have a main territory, they can't run? Oh, game. Game, why you do this? Alrighty, I guess we can send Caladriel after one of them, and then maybe these two to attack the Loren Forest itself. I wanted a field battle, not a forest battle, though. Man. Well, try one more time. Maybe you can try to get Dulas with just you two, then. We'll leave Caladriel to face off against an army her own. I want to see how these white lines and blood-wracked shrines stack up as compared to the executioners in blood-wracked shrines. Similar sort of concept. Go after Dulas. Please, please get drawn out into a field battle. Yes? Yes, alright. They won't do a 3-on-3, but they are willing to do a 2.5-on-2. Fair enough. Fair enough. It is the AI, after all. They want to have the advantage. Let's see how they do against the Shades. The Shades can outshoot the Wood Elves, by and large. Probably not Way Watchers, but, well, actually, 220 versus 254. They can even outshoot Way Watchers, at least in terms of range, though obviously not in terms of damage, but, well, relative eliteness aside, that does make sense. Anyway, here we go, Pyrrhic Victory. Let's see what we can do. Alrighty, well, we've seen Sharkia's Bolt Storms before, and, well, we know they're pretty darn good and effective, rather, at what they do. The enemy lord is already nearly done for, and I didn't even try to focus the enemy down, as in I didn't select which units to go for, and the Shades are just auto-targeting whatever they damn well please, and, well, whatever they please is basically everything. The disgusting Bolt Storm. The Wood Elves probably very confused by this state of affairs, as this is generally not what they're used to being on the receiving end of, but rather used to dealing out damage this way themselves. I also got to point out that the Shades aren't even maxed out. They would get another 15% range if we could give them the final level 7 buff, so they would even get stronger than they are here. Honestly, if you want a really easy Dark Elf campaign, just build nothing but Shade armies with the those who have the Shadow Dart buff, and they'll just do this over and over and over again. Alrighty, although it has to be by and large the dual weapon Shades, as even with upgrades, the Greatsword Shades don't get that much range. I think at max range we're at 154 range on them, and then plus 15%, so a little bit higher than that as well. Probably to... well, actually, if they get up to like 170, that's actually pretty respectable. Anyway, it looks like the first of the enemy armies is basically done for, having achieved absolutely nothing. I don't think they managed to kill a single Shade, at least not with their units. Maybe some of those Arrows of Kurnos managed. Yeah, see, this one lost 4 units probably to the Arrows of Kurnos, and a Shade has died here as well. Well, well, well. Oh, 69, nice. Well, that was only the beginning, fortunately, of this particular battle, as we got plenty more enemies where that came from. 2 stacks moving in as a reinforcement, and if I wanted to be really mean, we could have moved a caster here and then cast a vortex right here, where all the enemies would have been blobbed up, but, well, let's just say, A, there's no need, and B, I want to see Elrishan Grimgaze's army actually fight, so we're going to allow them to do so. Now, the way that we're going to approach this is thus. The Shades are going to continue or complete firing at these guys, but then they're going to stop firing and disappear back into hidden/stalk. We'll chase off the rest of the enemies with our Phoenixes, and then they will loop around and hit the enemy backlines, i.e. their range. In the meantime, the main force of ours, the main melee force, i.e. the 4 Hydras and all of the Blackguard of Naggarond, will move forward and tie up most of the enemies here, while the hidden Shades will essentially go right there and start hitting them, as in all the enemies, from out of hiding in the sides, while the Flamespire Phoenixes wreak havoc in the enemy backlines. That's the plan anyway. Well, let's see if it works out. Foolishly, the enemy has decided to move its Glade Lord Elenddelling in, and he's up against all the Hydras and all the Blackguard of Naggarond, and I think he's either dead in there or he's about to be. I don't know what the point of that was, Elenddelling, but whatever it was, it did not work out for him. Oh no, he's still alive, there he is. And we're going to get a cast off, a flame storm in the middle of the enemy army, just to hold them up a little bit. I don't actually particularly necessarily care about dishing out damage in this particular situation, but the enemy will stop and not move into the vortex directly, so we can certainly regroup from having killed Elenddelling once that's done. You dead yet, buddy? No? Well, he will be soon. At the very least, we can send our Blackguard of Naggarond back into the fray, getting a little bit of those Hydra breaths going before the enemy charges in. Ooh, and are these Blade Singers? Yes, indeed. These guys are very scary, so we gotta be careful with them. And ooh, on top of that, they're gonna get a Shield of Thorns on them, so melee damage reflection on Blade Singers should be pretty darn scary. Just wade them into combat and allow them to wreak havoc, just like an aspiring champion would, or at least somewhat similar. Anyway, here comes the main enemy force. Our Blackguard of Naggarond are now well and truly engaged, but so are our Phoenixes arriving in the background, and so are our Shades coming up onto position on top of this little hill here to fire at all these enemies in the sides. I think it'll work out quite nicely. Our Phoenixes are also flying overhead and dropping those fiery bombs, eggs, whatever, on top of the enemy, and that stuff does a lot of damage. And we have lots and lots of casts of it as well, so that's going to continue until morale improves. And by improves, I mean has gone completely and the enemy shatters. And on top of that, the other Phoenixes have found some Hawk Riders and are going to rip them apart in the air, while our Shades have finally caught up and are going to begin working. First of the enemy targets is going to be this unit of Sisters of the Thorn, which dies. We're also going to activate Murderous Prowess with some slave sacrifices, and suddenly all of our Blackguard will fight that much harder, while our Shades fire that much harder as well. There we go, looking pretty ugly for the enemy army. Balance of power is still about only 70%, maybe 65% in our favor, but it's going to drop very quickly now that everybody's engaged. Well done to the Hydras and the Blackguard for holding the ground, which is exactly what we wanted them to do as the anvil in this particular battle. And look at all those Bolt Storm shots coming in again. And Blade Wind coming down, a little bit of Black Arc support with a Doom Bolt as well coming in. The Phoenixes are working on things with Sharkia helping them out or leading them as well, and the rest of the Phoenixes are just chasing off enemy range units, preventing them from doing or achieving anything. And there we go, and the Shades are even firing or arcing their shots over the woods here. Almost like the woods themselves have turned upon the Wood Elves, and I guess with all of the enemy units, or all the units of Dark Elves coming out of the forests, it almost seems like it has. Oh, and the Arnsapel's Black Horror combined with the Phoenixes looks very nice. We've been going for a Shadow and Flame theme quite a bit, just like Malekith and his Shadow Fire Guard, so it does feel appropriate. Alright, well done to the Phoenixes. Chase off those Blade Singers as well as those Sisters of the Thorn, and it looks like chase off pretty much everything as the enemy army has collapsed. All those Dryads and Eternal Guard around the Black Guard of Naggarond and the Hydras, who are by and large looking pretty okay, and plenty of kills on them, and damage on them as well. Very nice. You gotta love Hydras. Definitely one of my favorite monster units. A, because they're fun to watch. B, because Hydra Dominatus, and C, because, well, they're just so effective at what they do. Anyway, still surrounding the enemy. We're actually starting to run out of ammunition on at least a few of our shades, but it should be more than enough to rip apart the last remnants of the enemy range units. Phoenixes are also here as well. And I probably could have actually sped this battle up a little bit by forcing the shades to target specific units, but there didn't seem to be any need to do that in this particular case. And there we go, the battle is ours, the enemy will rout, and it was a pretty darn good one, wasn't it? Alright. And we even got to be a little bit fancier, I guess, tactically, than we usually bother with being, just by virtue of the sheer number of enemies that we had to face off against. Usually I just do battle lines because they look cooler, and it's not the optimal way to play, and I know I say this a lot, but generally speaking, the more I bother to set something up in terms of the pre-battle setup, and rather than just like regular battle lines, the more I think that it is needed for that particular battle, or that we have a chance to take heavy damage. Anyway, chase the enemy down, drop a few more of those Phoenix eggs or whatever on top of the enemy, and the close victory will be ours, though I imagine close only because of the arrow expenditure of all the shades. Alright, fine. I can see why Loren did not want to fight us 3-on-3, as it would have been even uglier than that was. A very nicely done, Sharky, though the second army was the one that got hurt, which is unfortunate because Enslave would thus not be very helpful to us here. I suppose we could just go for the Murder Captives effect. Let's do that, rather than the tiny amount of healing. Now, these guys, they are running far and wide, aren't they? Meaning we probably won't be able to catch them all and destroy Loren for good in this episode, but what can you do? Worgen Merchant, Elf Servant, Cauldron of Blood for Velician. Lots of enemies killed in battle. These two are together, but alas, it looks like no one here can reach them. If you go into regular stance... oh! Huh. If you go into regular stance, you'd be able to reach this army. Ilrishan, if you go into regular stance, would you be able to... just out of range on Dulas. Well, that's a shame. If only you could have reached both of them at the same time. Is there any way to increase your range slightly, is the question. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that we still have to destroy Loren, but it is pretty much dead. These guys being far enough away, I feel like we send Caladriel after them instead. I guess these guys will come in as a reinforcement, though, which will be unfortunate because you won't be able to Druki first strike them. But hey, it's probably better fighting these guys than a pile of cavalry, as that might not be as interesting for the white lines to do. Anyway, Sharky, would you be able to auto-resolve this yourself? I guess is the question. You know what, just do this. You will draw in Ilrishan, but it looks like nobody will die. Oh yeah, well, basically they're all dead anyway. Auto-resolve. And then we will loot and occupy. Supposed to avoid further damage, or to heal up. Oh, we don't even really need to heal up. Just occupied, regular occupy. There you go. Lumberjack, blah blah blah, arcane item, though we don't care about items. Well, actually a little bit. In case we need to send somebody somewhere. And hello, what do we get here? Loren Forest, elven trinkets, medicinal plants, upkeeps for dark shards. That's great. I didn't even know that we had a special building here, and I should have checked. Interesting. Wait, you're telling me we have special buildings here, but no special buildings in Athel Loren other than the tree itself? Not even at Val's Anvil? We should have a special building at Val's Anvil so that we have all 3 Val's Anvils and all 3 special buildings in them. What are you doing, devs? Oh, you gotta work on that. Alrighty, well, Ilrishan, you are hurt and you can't reach Dulas, unfortunately, so I guess you're just going to stay here in raiding stance so that you can heal up at Loren. A little bit more. We'll see where Dulas goes after this turn. Caladriel, I guess it's your time to shine. Not in Druki first strike alas, but oh well, what can you do? Let's hit Kata, and they'll draw Danas to follow you. Perfection. Pyrrhic victory as well. Very, very nice. Alright, well, Loren's going to be in bad shape after all this. Now, in terms of what we do, I believe we want to give the Banner of Swiftness to you, and then you guys don't currently cause fear or terror, because you currently don't have your Blood Cauldrons. So, let's do that, and we'll give the Gleaming Pennant, I guess, to the Sorceress. Looks good to me. One-on-one, White Lions and Bloodwrack Shrines. Let's get to it. Alrighty, here we go. The first two battles of this episode were much bigger battles as we were facing off against multiple enemy armies, but this one's going to be a smaller one. But on the bright side, it'll mean more chances for the White Lions to actually shine and do their thing. Anyway, we approach the White Lions, make their way up the hill while the Bloodwrack Medusae Shrine, or Bloodwrack Shrines, fire their railguns at the enemy dryads, and hey, there's a Death Hag moving in as well. We don't really have or have not been using a Death Hag goes flying from one of our own railguns. We don't really use Death Hags as foot heroes slash heroes like this very often, so it's at least nice to see them on occasion together with the White Lions. Like this, they act as melee assassins essentially. Though generally speaking, it's just better to go for the Bloodwrack Shrines because they both, or Bloodwrack Shrines, Blood Cauldrons, because they both mince infantry as well as provide support for our own infantry. Anyway, the idea in this particular portion of the battle is to destroy this tiny little army first. All these White Lions are going to hack and just hack away at the enemy Dryads and the other enemy Wood Elf Archers. And it shouldn't be any kind of problem, especially as they should be pretty effective against both. And there we go. Swing those axes, boys. Alright, just gonna watch them in combat a little bit, but keep an eye on the rest of the map. Looks like we have not yet approached the second enemy army, or perhaps the second enemy army has not approached us. I see in the background, cresting the hill, is a bit of a pit of shades, which probably means we cast it, rather than the enemy. Huh, you know, interestingly enough, I think I basically never see the enemy cast Pit of Shades. I've seen occasional Vortex use from the AI, but it doesn't seem to use Vortexes a lot. I do see the Penumbral Pendulum from the AI quite a bit, but Pit of Shades is definitely a rarity. I just realized that. Interesting. I've certainly seen the occasional Flame Storm, but yeah, generally Vortexes are much rarer. Anyway, I digress. We are well engaged in combat now. The White Lions facing off against plenty of enemy foes and charging directly to fight a few more. Eternal Guard and whatnot against the White Lions should go very much in our favor, as their armor is already limited and will get sundered down to a mere 30. Though the Azrai War Dancers are going to be a little bit more problematic because they have no armor in the first place and should still be able to dish out a decent amount of damage to the relatively fragile White Lions who have low defense and are thus more glass cannony. But I suppose the cannon aspect is the important part of this anyway, as they should just need to out-damage the enemy or do more damage faster than the enemy does. Alrighty, and I like the White Lions for the exact same reason that, as I was talking about earlier, I like Berserkers, Witch Elves, and Sisters of Slaughter as well. Though the Sisters of Slaughter can stay in melee for quite a long time and aren't quite near as glass cannony, so they're a little bit different, even if they do share similarities with the Witch Elves. Anyway, more of our units moving in from the support. The Bloodwrack Shrines now just massively dishing out damage to those poor Glade Riders. And the balance of power is at about 85, maybe 90% in our favor. It looks like we have managed to engage all the enemy units with white lines, and by and large the damage will be here against the Eternal Guard and the Azrai War Dancers, where these white lines were not nearly as supported by our other units, whether it be the Bloodwrack Shrines or the Death Hags. But there we go, it looks like the enemy is going to book it on out of their relatively short battle, but with only one enemy army to face off against. It's hardly surprising that it was relatively short. Alrighty, well done to the White Lions. Surprising that their cloaks didn't become dyed in black after joining our faction, but anyway, let's see. Well, we will have suffered some damage, but only about half on the most hurt units, so while it's a close victory, it ain't too bad. Alrighty, very, very nice. You can keep on telling me that the White Lions weren't made to chop down dryads and treekin and whatnot, and I will continue not believing you. This is our Lumberjack Corps, and they certainly came in handy in this situation, and they'll be at more or less full HP, or at the very least the dryads will, and both armies will be destroyed as well. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well done to Caladriel. You are in friendly territory, I guess, so we won't be setting you into raiding mode, and just in case you get attacked by somebody like Draika, who may be near enough to us to attack us, and we should, well, we should be careful. Hey, but I guess that'll be more dryads to chop if needed, though Draika's dryads are a lot more dangerous than the others. Anyway, with that, we are out of time. Loren is pretty much gone, and the Bowmen of Orion are pretty much gone as well, which means, or not the Bowmen of Orion, the Griffin Wood, or Draika's faction, the Wargrove of Woe, are gone as well, which means, beginning next episode, we begin on this nonsense, this absolute nonsense. The big problem with this is we have no lightning strikes, so there is potential for just absolutely ridiculously large battles, but we will have to be careful as we don't have anywhere to go to heal up, which may cause some issues. And ooh, I noticed Val's Anvil also doesn't have enough of a built-up garrison as well. Interesting. We'll have to see whether we end up holding these places or not. I expect there are maybe 2 episodes left, 2 or 3, depending on how long it takes these guys to do their thing, and I'd like to get one final fight, at the very least for Malice, and maybe for Lokir, depending on how long it takes him to reach somewhere as well. Anyway, more Malekith to come, just a little bit more, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.